Wednesday Night Hump on Upstairs to the Right Music channel. Thank you so much for taking the time to tune in this evening. So glad to be here. So glad to see everyone here. As usual, while we wait for people to join into the live stream, I will take the time first to thank you for taking your time to watch. You could take your time and spend it anywhere, but the fact that you're spending a little bit of it with me is a great thing that I do appreciate. Whether you watch this live or in the rerun, always really greatly appreciated. So just wanted to let you know that as always. I hope you guys are doing good out there. Let me make some adjustments here. Let's see here. Yeah, that actually looks framed okay. That looks good. We'll go with that. Yeah. All right. So who we got here? Ben Allmark with us as always. Thank you, Ben, always for taking your time to be here in the live stream, man. I do appreciate it. Thank you so much. You too, Mr. Rogers. I do appreciate you taking the time to be in the live stream. Um, and I have had an interesting week this week, guys. I guess while we're waiting for more people to join in, I'll start there. Uh, it was Golden Week. Matty Two Hats, I'm glad you were able to make it tonight. Thank you, man. Welcome. It's Golden Week in Japan. My partner, my agent that I used to buy items, was on holiday. Most of the shops were on holiday, so there really wasn't anything going on until today. Things started to warm up again, and I have an interesting tale to tell that very rarely happens, but it is something that happened today that's worth mentioning, and it could happen, and it's why I think maybe if you're interested in buying, one of the subjects we're going to talk about tonight is made Japan strats, guitars in general. But if you are interested in buying something overseas, sight unseen like that, um, you know, if you can reach out to another person or somebody, an agent or somebody who can facilitate that for you to make sure that it goes right, you're probably doing okay. Today, so things opened up again. My agent sent me um, a text regarding that Lord player. I'm sorry, Studio Lord, the Yamaha Studio Lord, the Studio Lord. So that would make it the SL 450 from around 1982 to 1983. I didn't look at the date on the back of that one, but within that period that I had been talking about with you guys that I wanted to bring in so that I could put it up against with that earlier Studio Lord 700 from the late 70s. My agent says, "Hey, Mike, the guys at the shop says there's a few more dings on this thing than they thought, and I told them to send more pictures." And my guy in Japan, he's not in the guitar business. It's not his business at all. But he is somebody that I know and that I trust. Just a straight guy, just a really straight arrow guy that I trust a great deal. And today he really pulled through by asking for additional photos. He said, "Hey guys, let me see what you're talking about." So they sent him the photo, and he immediately sent it to me. And this is how we kind of suss out our system, one of our systems for sussing out duds and trying to get the best stuff that we can get our hands on. You know, with the limitations that we're dealing with. He's not really a guitar guy, and I'm halfway across the world. But it's starting to work out because the pictures revealed a guitar that was not the same guitar that they had advertised on their website. And this is Digimart, and this is actually a small shop. Shops big to small all over Japan usually advertise their stuff on Digimart. It's kind of like, just think of it as the eBay, or not eBay. Think of it as the Reverb. eBay is close. Yeah, think of it the eBay of Japan, kind of thing. But it's mostly shops. It's not individuals. And that's why you'll see a lot of them reaching across to the States. You'll see a lot of Japanese sellers on eBay in the States, and in the UK, it's because they're really doing it big time on Digimart, and it's kind of something familiar. There's usually crossover there. But the picture that they sent of the guitar and the one that they had on their website that I was going off of, they had multiple pictures. This is the thing about it. It's interesting about this story because I always talk about, and you're always told, well, if you're going to buy something like that, ask for multiple pictures. These guys had multiple pictures, and they were of very good quality too. Good lighting, very high detail. The back, front, sides, bottom, every crack and crevice of this guitar. But when they sent over the snapshot they took in the shop of it to show me the damage, it happened to be the knobs. So all the knobs were cracked. And that's usually a sign that the guitar fell over like this. And that drove the shaft up into the knob, causing it to crack. Now, if it fell over like this and it drove that shaft into that knob, it wasn't, the force coming down, it was the pressure going up, which means there's probably a problem with those pots, which, is something that was not in the original picture that I looked at when I was thinking about buying it. Also, the wood grain and some of the damage to the top, not, well, not damage, they strike that. The wood grain and the aging of it were not the same as the picture as well. So I quickly rescinded my order with them and said, no, I'll pass. and if, and again, excuse me, I got caught out before with a Greco that was not as, hey, good evening. Hey, brother, how you doing? Thank you so much for showing up. Just talking about a little adventure I had with about on the other side of the world today. And I just told them no. But it's interesting that I covered all my bases, as multiple pictures, good reference shop. It's a small shop, but it's an established shop. It's not an individual seller, and yet and still, if it hadn't been for my agent asking for those additional pictures, I'd have been caught out like I was with that Greco that time that had the collapsed bridge that they weren't disclosing. So, and then when my agent got it, and I got it home, he got it and sent me pictures of it. I was horrified and said, send it back. And of course, the shop said that we wouldn't take it. So there was a whole thing with that. That actually ended up working out. But still, try to avoid those kind of things. And this one was definitely that. But again, I'm always looking. And I'm a big believer in always having a plan B and C. And I actually did have a plan B that actually over the weekend, honestly, I was hoping to become my plan A as far as this is concerned because I found a later Yamaha Lord Player 400, and from a good seller that I bought from before, that he's a hunter. Sometimes I can reach out to him and find things. I have him looking for acoustic guitars right now for me. But he had a Lord Player. Now, Lord Players were the last of that Yamaha line. They were the last of that dynasty that's the supposed lawsuit guitars that carried into the mid '80s. No later than '86 on those. That was it for those. But boy, did they save the best for last. And picking up another acoustic tomorrow, vintage with a case, 50 quid. Oh, that's a garage store find. You have to go to Lewisham to get it. Be careful. I used to live around there. Yeah, that's great, man. Um, that's great. Yeah, there's like I said, the safari is an awesome thing when you find things for a great price. And this Lord player, getting back to that, is really it's a rare one. And of all the Yamaha Les Paul type guitars, it's considered to be the top. It is a situation. Got to walk a half mile to my local. That's not bad. And the weather is good. I almost ended up in London at the end of this month. I was invited, but I just can't make it. But weather's good. Half a mile, not bad. How heavy is the case? Well, it's acoustic guitar, so it's not going to be that bad. I did that. I carried that guitar to call, and I got off on the wrong station, and I carried that guitar that I took to call through London. It felt like 10 miles before I got back to where I needed to be. That was a Les Paul. That's a whole different thing. But happy about how that worked out. But a tale of caution to you guys, just a tale of caution, because I'm not saying the shop was up to something. They got a lot of guitars, but I just don't understand how they could put up pictures of two different guitars. That's the thing that gets to me, and that's the first time I've run into this, and that leads me to believe that I need to be even more stringent and more diligent when I'm buying things in Japan. Unfortunately, right now, it just might just be a sign of the times. It might just be one of those kind of things. And so there's that. Um, Certainly, yeah, amazing. And though it worked out. So we are going to see if my guy can get me that Lord player, and that's an even better one because then you can see the beginning of that line with the Studio Lord 700 that I have, and then we can show the end of that series with the Lord player, which are again the equivalents of the Orville by Gibson's. Just think of it like that, with the standard open book headstock. Um, Solid maple top, no veneer, solid mahogany, one piece neck, that kind of thing. And yeah, so hopefully that will go through. With this one, this month dealing was a little difficult because I turned down one because they were too high, turned down the last one because they were trying to pull a fast one, and I'm hoping the third time is the charm because I'd like to get this shipped to me so I can get to the business of what I do with it. And so there's that. So guys, just be aware, be careful. Ask for a lot of pictures, and if it's a shop you're shopping overseas, tell them to send me a picture from today. Just go up to and send me a picture of what it is. Just ask for as much. It's your money. You know, so being a little diligent with it is good for you. And if they're sincere, then they shouldn't mind doing it. Most Japanese shops are pretty cool with that. They'll help you out. And but there is a need. There's a little sloppiness. I don't think it's malfeasance. I think it may just be sloppiness on their part. But something to be aware of. Tonight, Squier versus Made. Speaking of Japan, Made in Japan Strat, which is the best bang for the budget. Last not last live stream, maybe the live stream before, uh, I was talking about made in Japan guitars and why I wouldn't buy certain Strats, made in Japan ones, because it's all over the place. And I was asked a question, and I always appreciate when I get questions because sometimes it sparks the idea for a live stream. And believe me, I need them as much as I can because I do it twice a week and I like to keep it fresh. But I was asked the question, is that do you think that's for all, made in Japan? I said no. I said there's a time frame there in the 80s, particularly 86, 85, 86 seems to be your sweet spot. So if you buy something within that time zone that's still, that time frame that's still within good condition, then you're probably doing well. You just have to watch the price. Because, like I said, people are asking ridiculous prices from there. Where the top price that you should be spending on the top tier made in Japan is around 1,250 euros or dollars, whichever conversion you wish to do there. It's about the same, plus or minus. But that's on the top tier stuff. But he asked me, well, what about the lower tier stuff? And I thought I immediately kind of jumped. I said, well, I would just, there's Squiers that are out right now that I would. It's a lot easier to get. You go to your local shop and get a Squier, um, and and they're pretty. They're around there. They're not scarce, is what I'm trying to say. And the conversation went on. This is a guy at a shop down here. He actually has a guitar, that old Guild guitar from the '60s that he got from his pop, and he's asking me to praise it. We just talking about guitars in general, and he's probably watching now. I hopefully, maybe. Anyway, and so that conversation got me thinking. Yeah, the Squires are plentiful, and he says, "Well, are the made in Japan ones better? I mean, it may not be easy to get, but are they better quality when it comes down to it than your average Squire?" And I had to think about that. I said, "That's a great question. That's a great question." Yes, an extra bit of hassle to to obtain one of the lower price made in Japan. Like some of those, you can get those. Some of the, and I'm talking about stuff from that sweet spot that I was talking about, the '80s, that you can get if you find it in Japan. They're going for less than $200, and I'm not kidding. Super Springies. I forget the one that I was looking at. Super rocker, that's a good example of that kind of level of price that you would expect for a fairly quality guitar. But I started to think about it, and I said to myself, Dewey, welcome. Hey, welcome to the live stream. Thank you so much, man, for showing up. But I started to think about that, and yeah, let's start from the beginning. Recently, Squire came out with, to answer that question, and we'll try to answer it here tonight, as best we can. Um, Squire came out with a guitar recently that really interested me. I was going to talk to you guys about it, and tonight's is good of a night to get into it a little bit. And that is the deal that they're doing with Amazon. And by the way, this is worldwide. You can get it wherever you get Amazon. This deal is available, and that's the Fender Squier debut series Stratocaster electric guitar. Have you guys seen this? And these things can be shipped in the States for about 150, under $150. Here, I do believe. Let me scroll down here and check. Yeah, it's 115, so that's going to be roughly 169 euros. So not bad. 169 euros for this Fender Squier for exclusive for Amazon thing. So I don't know if you guys have heard about this. There's been a few guys who have reviewed it, and of all the guys that have reviewed it, and by the way, that just keep that price in mind, 169. And remember what I told you, the Super Rocker from '86 will cost you about under $200. So in the same price, in the same ballpark. But this is a good example of why I think, again, this is, I'm getting ahead of myself. All right. So, what is this thing? This is exclusive for Amazon, made in China, Stratocaster. Now, this thing has been reviewed, as I was saying, by a lot of people, a lot of favorable reviews. I haven't seen a negative one about this, and these are paid ones. These are guys that actually bought it. Hey, I spent my $150 and I actually bought it and got it in. And I've seen it in all its colors. It comes in three: a Dakota red, a black, and a kind of brown burst. We'll call it for anything for other purposes. And they're a matte. They're a very flat matte. They're not a gloss. They're a matte. And they are designed by Fender. So Fender came out with these. Uh, they they have the same body dimensions as, I don't have it with me because I painted it. It's downstairs drying. As that 2001 uh, Affinity body that I have, that the 2001 Affinity Stratocaster, the same dimension. So it's not a full size. And I brought this in. So this is a full size body Squier. Um, that one, the one that I'm mentioning right now, is smaller. If you're not familiar with Affinities, it's a smaller body. It's not as full as this one, a full size body. So there is that. Um, and Again, the neck on it is the same as you would find. Let me bring it up again on an Affinity. Now, this is a 2001 Affinity neck. So this is a 2002, 2001, 2002 or so of Affinity, not Affinity body. This is an SE100 body, so it's a full size body. I bought it without its neck because the necks on this SE 100 are considered some of the best Squier necks out there, second only to these early Affinity necks. So I found an Affinity neck and I put it on this one just to get it, pretty damn good back to where it could be played again. Very happy with the way it turned out. But the neck on this guitar that just came out, the new Squier, Fender design Squier, has the same neck as this one. The dimensions are exactly the same. Now the difference is the headstock. As you saw, that's the '70s headstock on that one. The one that I'm talking about here has your standard '60s headstock on it, just like this neck here. Uh, so let's see. Its body type is made from poplar, so that's interesting because the 2001 body that I have is alder. And just as a side note, um, there may be something to the body woods of things. I'm starting to think there may actually. I've been on the fence about it. The tone wood thing, um, but there are some instances where I think that there may come into play a difference that it can make in terms of how those pickups respond. Um, So I just put that as an aside because in putting these Squires together from here and from there, bits and pieces, I've had the opportunity to have pickups in an outer body and then have it in a popular body, and they sounded different. Now it was an affinity body, so not a full size body that the outer one was, and the pickups eventually went to a full size popular body one, but I did notice a difference there. So I always wanted to mention this is a good place to bring that up as well. Um, the body on this is popular. Um, and I think, let me see more. Yes, I would like to. The fretboard is laurel. Okay. So, you know, you got Indian laurel there. That's all right. The neck is maple. And It's really designed for beginners, they're saying. However, from the reviews that I've seen on this guitar, nobody's had an issue with any frets. Every with these Chinese necks like this one, you're always, one of the things you're always going to run into is a problem with these frets just being a little bit too prickly. And this piece of fine work here was no difference. One of the first things I did was work on that, and I got it to where it's okay now. But apparently, on these Fender Squier debut Stratocasters, they're pretty dang good in terms of the work that they did on the frets, and that's a big part of things with me, especially at this price point. There are guitars at higher price points that can't even pull that off. And the other thing that I'll point out with this is that for 150 bucks, you know, in sourcing necks and bits and pieces for the last year, solid for what I will call Mike's project Stratocaster, where I've been putting these things together. The necks of these things are not cheap. Um, Even with this being my Temu buy, and they don't even sell these there anymore on the Temu site. The last time I checked a month or so ago, don't check it anymore. Not interested. But these aren't cheap. These are still about 50 bucks, even at a discount shop like that. At $150, if you look at the neck, you look at the body, you look at the electronics, if you look at the nickel, did I read that right? Did they say nickel? Yeah, it's just the materials are just really nice there at that price point. I don't know how they did it so cheaply. Is the point of that. Um, for this price point, um, you really have yourself a situation where you would have to ask, why would I be interested in obtaining a 86 and 80s Japanese Strat other than nostalgia for it when Squier is producing such fantastic guitars right now today? And real interesting to me because really I'm amazed by Squire. I will take a moment to say that uh, Squire's been knocking it out of the park. The Fender Squire, putting the Fender aside, but the Squire work that they've put into, they've had some duds. What was that? The Starcaster or Stratocaster or Starcaster or something like they came out with was just god terrible. But they have had some pretty nice ones and pretty nice models. And I think that this one at that price point is an amazing price point. I mean, of course, it has ceramic pickups in it. But at this price point, even when they have Al Nickel 5, they're not always that much of a difference in terms of sound. Um, so at 150 bucks, dude, you could get a pair of bare knuckles, or even my guy in Croatia, you could actually get a wound set for a Strat for around that price and shipped to you. Put those in that thing, and you can go to town. You know, as a beginner, and that would carry you. And for so now you've invested $300. And is it a full size? It doesn't. Hey, you know what? It does the job. And as a beginner, that could take you all the way up to, if you're going to college to study music, you could take it to music school with you. Afterwards, you probably get a graduation present of a Fender or something like that, but you would still keep that guitar. And if you're there's so many stories of guys who say, you know what, I still love my first guitar. And believe it or not, most of the time it's a Squire. I still have I wish I moved around the world too many times to keep my original stuff. But yeah, my first original one was a Squire as well. You know, so there's that. Got the P bass for the same price. Yeah, I need to swing over to your channel, man, and take a look at what you've been doing. And once again, guys, go to Tall Thinketh, go to his channel, check him out. Got a lot of interesting things he's doing over there that I think are worth looking at. I need to do as well. So I will be checking your channel out, sir. But yeah, most of the times, most guys first are squires, you know. And so, sight unseen, I, I, I wouldn't, other than just to say, hey, man, I got a 80s Japanese Strat, and it's awesome. Well, cool, but it's going to cost you. Like I said, with that Super Rocker, I saw that one was about $160. Shipping on that, because it's got a bag is going to be about $120. So you're into $300-400 there, 300 bucks there, and so you may have a cool guitar from Japan at that price point. But if you had bought this guitar, this modern Squier, and just put a pair of bare knuckles or something like that, any decent set of Strat pickups in it, Al Knuckle 5 or 2, whichever you prefer, and you'd be probably running rings over that 80s Japanese guitar. In the case of Squiers. We're not talking about Les Pauls. That's a whole different thing. We're just sticking with Squires, with Strats and Telecasters. Because I would say the same thing about Japanese Telecasters from that period as well. Got to go early tomorrow. Take it. Hey, man, I appreciate you even just sticking your nose in and saying hello. Try to get some rest. I'm not gonna be far behind you. You have a good evening, sir. Thank you so much for showing up. Stephen in the house. Hey, a little late to the party. I keep telling you guys, there is no late. Better late than never is always my motto. I do appreciate you guys showing up. We're just talking about, well, I think a modern Squier I would buy. It's just I guess this is going to be my series of why I don't really have a strong love, interesting enough, for made in Japan Strats. The non Fender ones, like the Super Springies, the golden Springies, the silver Springies, those models, which have a very good reputation of those who have got their hands on them and did bring them over, but at the cost of the shipping and maybe depending upon where you live, the VAT and stuff like that. I'm just saying for you that you could have yourself an awesome guitar. And this is not just for beginners. I'm actually considering buying this Fender Squire debut and reviewing it here. I'm actually considering it because at $150, I mean, it's not it's not a big deal. So as a price point, that's attractive to me in terms of reviewing things. Um, I would have to. Decide what color. Black. It comes in black, a Dakota red, which is not really the same red as in the picture. It's a little bit more. It's a softer red, and then like I said, their version of this kind of burst, but again, this is an early 2000 made in Taiwan versus um, this one here, this is a gloss, that one is a matte. That's that sunburst, yeah, sunburst is hurting on this. So it really comes down to this red or the black. But at that price point, I think it's worth it. Hell, I could just swap the neck off that, put it's a Squire Affinity neck, and put it on this Squire Affinity body that I'm painting, as opposed to using this one and put this one on instead, swap necks on it, and uh, that would be a great parts piece. So, if I hated the sound of, it's again, it would be a great parts caster because for that price, you're getting the pickups, the electronics, the body, you're getting a lot of stuff there for bang for your buck. Um, Whether you want to keep it whole or part it out and use it for different projects, it's actually interesting. It's interesting. Now you have to like that Squier Affinity neck. Some guys, I have big hands. There's just no lie about that. I've got pretty big bits, but I don't mind the Affinity neck. As a matter of fact, I think that it's fine. This is that same neck that you would get on that modern one, different headstock, but this is the same neck. I don't find that to be too thin. I think it's just fine. Um, so there's that, but some guys don't like it. They like this, which isn't that much wider. This is supposed to be more like a traditional fender neck, but I find this thin as well. None of them are fat like a Les Paul neck, so it's for me. It's really like, okay, I'm going from a fatter Les Paul neck to any Stratocaster. It doesn't matter. It's always going to feel thinner, smaller. Frederick Rogers, I hit the like button for you. Hey guys, I appreciate it. Guys, hit the like button. Don't forget to hit the like button. I do appreciate that. I'm going to hit it myself. Give myself a thumbs up. Thanks, guys, for reminding me of things like that. I do appreciate it. I get rambling here and forget those small things. But just one of those things that I think that it's just not worth it. Now, the higher cost ones, yeah, on some of those, but then you're talking about the fenders, the made in Japan fenders. Again, that's a different thing. Those are worth getting into, but the non-branded, the Grecos and the Tokais and the others of the world out there that were producing strats, I if you come across one in a pawn shop, then grab it, negotiate on, try to get it. But in terms of trying to import brands, I just don't think it's worth it. I don't think they are. I think that for the money, a modern Squier will be your better bet. And this one, like I said, even though again, it's funny to me. They keep this again. The history of this, if you guys aren't familiar, this is again different body, different neck, but this is the SE 100. They only produce the 100 series for a short time, but it's a full body Stratocaster. Ceramic pickups. But they produced these for a short time, and they became there for beginners. It was considered to be a beginner Strat. Boy, they're not, and it was a budget beginner Strat, but now these things are considered to be collectible because they're so well made. This thing is, like I said, is 20, 22, 23 years old, and uh, they were considered to be, student budget guitars as well. But now, and for good reason, they're considered to be great guitars for parts casters because Squire parts casters because the quality of it and just they're great and the way they look. I mean, they're not making them with those, This body is agathis, so that's a little bit different thing, but not heavy. But this thing has a potential of being like that down the road as well. People will be snapping these up at that price, and you will see them, falling in line with being something that later on people will consider to be decent. You with the usual caveat of change the pickups. But again, at this price point, not really a bad thing. Not really a bad thing. So, which is the best bang for the budget? It'd be the Squire. In long story short. Sorry, guys, I'm drinking a lot today, and I got this scarf on. I feel something here, so trying to push the orange juice. I have to drink a little bit of Japanese medicine that I mix into it. It's an herbal medicine, really good for you. Feel anything coming on? If you take it, it 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 will completely make you straight by the morning, but it is god awful. So I'm sipping here at it, mixed with a little juice, trying to get it down, get it in. It's not so bad when you mix it with juice. It's a good medicine tastes bad. Boy, they got that right. It really does. Um, there's that. I just thought I would that conversation I was having in the shop with the guy about that, and I started thinking about it, and I was right. Was I being a little off the cuff about it, but no, I was right. I would go with a modern Squire still before I went with any of those lower price Grecos and Tokais that came out. Now, if you're going to go for a made in Japan guitar, you might as well just, go for the gold and get a Fender because you can still get good Fender made in Japan's for around the same price or maybe even a little, well, you got to count the import cost. Around the same price that you can get a made in Mexico. Not the early one because the early made in Mexico's, even though I think unfairly so, are not considered to be the best, but that's another story for another day. Uh, as, as she said in Star Wars. Um, Great question. You know, great story for another day. Uh, so you'd have to go for the gusto and get the Fender Japan if you're going to import a Strat or a Jazz Master or Telly, and you're thinking to yourself, okay, I want to do this, but I want to do this in such a way that it it is cool. It's got the cool factor to it. It's got good quality, and it makes sense over anything else that I could get locally. You'd have to kind of look at it like that, I guess. And but not to discourage you, but just don't go for the cheap ones. Don't import cheap. I guess the takeaway of this is don't waste your money importing the cheaper uh, Japanese made strats and tallies from that period. It's not worth it. You're not getting anything special. I guess there is the cool factor, but you're kind of wasting money there a little bit. And you're paying, I guess you're paying for the cool factor, but is it really worth that? And in some cases, it's not just the shipping fee, but you also have to pay that as well. Mm, I'd stay away from them. Unless I said you walk into a music shop somewhere and they just happen to have one, or the off chance that you walk into a pawn shop and they just happen to have one, then it's something worth looking at. But do your homework accordingly as well. So there is that. Um, I am fascinated with the way that people have taken up the lament of the closing of Sam Ash stores. Uh, that certainly has been a topic that, as even when it's on the news, and not just on the East Coast, but on the West Coast as well, pretty much all over. And they always frame it the closing of 100-year-old store, this, that, and the other. But it's either lazy writing or just really just not good coverage. Still can't figure out which is the case. But no, it's not 100 years. The original store moved in the '60s, so to a new location. So you're not talking about that one. No, the legacy there, of course, is 100 years. And it has gotten a lot of people lamenting, as I said, about the state of things and the way things are going. And I myself it's interesting. So change the topics here. Maybe move into kind of a little bit of metaphysics here, metaphysical. Yeah, maybe not. But to me, to be at my age and to see these changes and quickly, the period of where we were recording using tape lasted from, well, the original phonographs, you had to burn them to a record, and then that was used in order to press subsequent records. The subsequent, each pressing of that original record, of course, got less and less in quality. So it wasn't considered to be a great medium. And then electromagnetic tape came about, and they started experimenting Les Paul through stuff that he obtained from stuff that the Germans were working on that was provided to him. Started working with tape machines and came up with the 4 track. And then that period of time from when Les Paul started using that to record things until when did I first see my first DAW? Well, that was at SCU Studios in Los Angeles with Reggie Andrews, my mentor. So that had to be mid 92, 93, 94, 95, 94, 95. It was the first time that we were using a DAW to do a remix for Motown. We were mixing a singer named Rosie Gaines, who was signed to Motown, and her stuff was on Pro Tools, a precursor of Pro Tools. But that's a long period of time. The period of time that we've progressed from that early DAW to where we're at now, where AI is writing the music, is a lot shorter than that time when old Les Paul was tinkering around in the 50s in his garage. The speed of how things has changed is the point of it. And to see Sam Ash and all these other, and let's be honest with you, the CEO of Guitar Center is saying, we're going to dress this up real pretty. we've got the pedal room now, where we've got racks with with LED lights in it, so you can see In other words, they're stylizing the Guitar Center, and they're saying we're going to actually go upscale. And I couldn't believe it. The Guitar Center CEO is talking about going upscale, while Sam Ash is basically folding in the cards. And it's like, I guess in his case, it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. But it's basically, dressing up a turd, isn't it? Christmas box, pretty ribbon, and got the lovely paper and everything, but it still is what it is. It's a dying kind of thing. And the great idea of let's go upscale, well, could you imagine that, needing an appointment to get into the guitar? Sir, we don't have you on the guest list. What's your name again? Is Mick Williams for one. I wanted to get some strings. Ah, yes. The gold string collection. Very good, sir. Yeah, you don't want to be in that kind of position where you're upscaling at a time where your competitors are basically, thank you, Michael, falling out of the market. And so when I read that news about the Guitar Center CEO talking about wanting to upscale, I spit my milk out. 'Cause it tickled me. It amused me. It brought me warm amusements, because the next byline was Sam has to close all stores unless it can find a buyer. And I'm an optimist. There are pessimists out there who I respect. They know more than me, actually. Some of the guys I've heard um, who are saying they don't think that Phil McKnight's is pessimistic about it. He doesn't think that they're going to find a buyer. I'm being optimistic. I think that they may, because, like I said, there are hedge funds out there who may see something there. So there is that. Although the hedge funds haven't done so great, well, there may be stuff they can robber baron it. They can strip it. they can they can do what Richard Gere's business did in Pretty Woman, buy it and then strip it, sell it for parts. So there is that. But even that is why I'm being optimistic, because there is something there even in that. Does nothing for us. No, the bloom is off that rose. That period of time is gone, and I don't again begrudge that. I know that things have to change. Everything must change. Nothing stays the same. Bernard Aigner, uh, the producer and writer, wrote once. He was right. It about sums it up, but the speed of which things are happening. You got cats. I'm not clowning. I'm crying. I'm laughing, but I'm crying. You know what I mean? Because you got guys I know who invested a lot of money in equipment, and quite frankly, overnight, their equipment, because of this AI music thing, just that has become made their studio unnecessary and irrelevant. It's a poor investment. I know a lot of guys are shutting down their studios because, again, you know, um, you would think that a lot of folks, even with YouTube, that a lot of people would know about different ways you can distribute. But there's still those out there that say, well, if it's not on, Spotify or TikTok or whatever, it's meaningless. Okay, all right. You got shut out of that, didn't you? And of course, the ripple effect. So a lot of studios and a lot of investments in equipment that, again, like I said, at the speed that things are going, there a lot of this stuff is going to be irrelevant. A guitar, you know, wood and strings and all that stuff is never going to be irrelevant. Um, it'll be more and more of a niche thing, I think. Maybe again, I have hopes in the indie system, but you see how they're really putting the clamps on that. We talked about that. But I do think to myself, it's one of the things that I don't ever think that they like a piano, drums, real piano, or even doesn't have to be real piano. It could be a Fender Rhodes, any guitar. It's still going to beat and still going to thrive and still be part of our existence, but not in the ways that it was when I grew up. Now, there are certain countries you can go to. I just saw a set of TV commercials from Japan, and one of them was set in a high school classroom, and there was a kid playing the acoustic guitar with with all the students around him clapping and going along. There are some cultures, they're a guitar producing country, but so is the United States. So maybe that doesn't work. But in the case of Japan, there's still the guitar, music, real instruments, and things that they're still part of the youth psyche. And that's important because, this old fogies going down memory lane, not such a big thing because we'll be gone. It's the youth bringing it forward is the most important thing. And in Japan, it is good to see that. If it's in the TV commercials, then that means it's in the common psyche. Again, it's part of programming, but that's why they call it television programs. But anyway, but it's something that's good. It's continuing something on that needs to be. Unfortunately, in other parts of the world, not so much, and we'll suffer as a result. You know, or will suffer as a result. I think in some ways, but I'm out here putting a new fence around my deck, putting in seeds because we had the wettest April since 1934 in the Netherlands. And that's what I was telling you. Remember all last month, I was like, guys, it's freezing and it's raining all the time, and this is really crap weather, and I can't pay my. Well, that's why, because this was literally the worst. Think about that, man. That's a long ass time. This is like 80 years. Okay, so yeah, and 80, 90 years, man. So big deal. Uh, um, but I was out planting, and the seeds are starting to come up. And I think guitars are kind of like that. That nature will prevail, even in bad weather. The sun will come out, and even in places I have stuff sprouting up in places I didn't even know I planted. So maybe the future of the guitar. I shouldn't be so pessimistic about that. Uh, but just again, like I said, the speed of things, and if I just think forward, uh, and where we could be even in 5 years, it bodes not well. But again, there are seeds planted in places that we don't know about that'll come up, and so I'm hopeful for that. So I wanted to end tonight with that thought. I've been kind of on a negative. I've been watching the last live streams and what I've been talking about. And I've been kind of on a down tear, not the most positive mic, maybe not the most positive mic in some of these discussions. But they are important ones that whether a few of you watch or 100,000 watch, I don't care. It's a message that I think everybody could benefit from, the few and the many. So there's that. But maybe the next live stream, I'm thinking do something fun. So I will consider that something a little bit more upbeat. Tonight, I thought was a good going in that direction. Kind of took a hard left there at the end. But these are kind of the things that I think about. Again, like I said, guys, it's incredible to me. Uh, Again, you think of that span from Leo, I'm sorry, I keep saying from Les Paul in his garage up until creating 4-track, up until the time where the first DAW came out in the 90s. You're talking about a 40-year period there. But from the time the DAW came out until where the computer now is doing the music as well, it's not just recording it, it's writing it, singing it, playing it, was a scant, you know, few decades. So that time, that technology thing is just getting faster and faster, faster and faster. Um, men's knowledge will increase, and so it is. And so that just leads you to try to think ahead. I always do. Try to see if things are going. Again, I don't have a crystal ball, but I have one of those kind of minds where I'm always trying to see, well, where is this going? And that's what I kind of thought. So, anyway, there's that. We have made it through another live stream on Wednesday. I'm always surprised that anybody shows up on Wednesday. I wouldn't show up. I'm always pleased that you guys take the time to watch. And that we can get through our hour or so here and hit on some interesting things. Again, Squier versus Made in Japan Strat, which is the best bang for your budget? Always go with the Squier. Always go with the Squier, especially if you're a beginner. But even if you're not, even a guy like me, as I said before, that Amazon deal is looking interesting to me. Maybe you guys should check it out. It's only available on Amazon. You're not going to find it anywhere else. So if you type in Fender, Squier, Strat, you'll get a whole bunch of other things. This is just something for Amazon. So go on Amazon.com and take a look at it. For that price point, again, I don't know how they can price it when I know the cost of the individual the price. The price of your pickups, your neck, your body, things like that. This is a good deal, and it's got good bones. It's got good basic bones. Where if you're a beginner, it's a great beginner guitar to put you up through college. Lessons or up until you graduate to something else. And if you're a guy who has a bunch of guitars, this is a great banger. You just buy it, whether for that price, it's a great guitar and it's good. You can throw it around, use it to work on gardening, like digging holes, and still play and not be mad. So multi-purpose there for the price. A couple of things you can get out of that one. So I might think about. I'm thinking about getting one. I have to add it to my list of things that I'm thinking about. I'm very frugal, as you know, when it comes to equipment, but this one is fascinating enough where I think maybe it might be worth it. All right, guys, that is it for this evening. I want to thank you so much for taking the time to tune in and watch these live streams, especially the Wednesday night hump. We put in a good solid hour here talking about this subject. I hope you found it interesting. I hope, as usual, this is something food for thought for you. Food for thought, I hope. Sunday night will be coming up. Our next live stream. It'll be a little bit longer this Sunday night, so save room for that. Because there's a subject I want to talk about. Oh, there I go again. Maybe I should. Nah, I'm going to do that. Anyway, we got that coming up. It's something on the regular channel as well. Again, nothing this week, but I think I might have something here I'm putting together. So always keep an eye out for that. Thank you so much for supporting this channel by showing up in the first place. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if this is your first time here. And I want to say thank you guys so much again for showing up at the Wednesday night hump here at the Upstairs to the Right Music channel. Again, have yourself a good rest of the week, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.